Portsmouth is housing a disproportionate number of asylum seekers, according to a council document leaked to the BBC. The decision on where to place asylum seekers in the city is currently made by a private company outsourced by the government. Home Office figures from June show over 40% of the asylum seekers dispersed to the south east were housed in Portsmouth. Southampton, another main dispersal area, took 21%. But many places in the south, including Bournemouth, Winchester, Guildford and Chichester, took none. The council in Portsmouth has now written to the government with its concerns. Rob Powell has this exclusive report.
Migrants making the long journey through Europe. It's a journey Amir made 5 years ago, fleeing from Iran. We're protecting his identity.
Psychologically, socially, financially, in every aspect, I have lost many things.
Amir was housed here in Portsmouth by a private company called Clear Springs, which is contracted by the government to provide accommodation for asylum seekers. The city is what's known as a cluster area, a main hub location where asylum seekers are dispersed to and housed.
But now the BBC has obtained a council briefing saying the city is taking a disproportionate number of asylum seekers and that a rise in numbers would increase the pressure on already stretched local services. The cheaper price of housing in Portsmouth is thought to be a factor. The council leader says she's written to the Home Office.
If the Prime Minister asks me to take on more people, of course we will do our duty and we will do what is required. But the message I'm sending out is that we've already done our bit over the last 10 years, and I really would urge the government to look at other parts of the South East now.
What say do you have in how many asylum seekers Clear Springs brings to the city?
None at all. That's a contract with the Home Office, and we are in communication with the organisation so that we know roughly the flow and the number of people.
But others say private companies should not be involved.
They have divisions within government for this type of thing. Why they farm it out to a private enterprise, I have no idea.
The Home Office contracted company, Clear Springs, did not want to comment. The Home Office said asylum seekers are housed where there is available and appropriate accommodation and that it works closely with local authorities who take part in the dispersal programme on a voluntary basis. Portsmouth South MP Flick Drummond says she's not aware of any problems with the dispersal programme.
We contract out all sorts of services, as you know. And most asylum seekers, of course, go up to the north. And I think one of the reasons why that is because it's a lot cheaper. And Portsmouth, of course, is the relatively cheap accommodation compared to other cities in the south.
Amir's asylum claim was refused. He hopes to have that decision legally reviewed.
We are in this society, but we are not really. We are just numbers. I feel like a number in this country.
Well, Rob's here with me now. How likely is it for other areas in the south to start taking asylum seekers, like Portsmouth has?
Well, experts I've spoken to say there is a reluctance among councils, partly because housing stocks here in the south are already stretched, partly because of the relatively high cost of housing here. But there is a feeling that the current Syrian refugee crisis could start to change that.
We've seen a public response around the Syrian refugees that has been distinct from the public response to asylum seekers more broadly. And I think that is likely to push some councils and local authorities to feel like this is something that we should be doing, that we should be looking to welcome these refugees from Syria.
Well, one other point, Sally, the variances may be big within the south in terms of asylum seeker numbers, but when you start to look to other parts of the UK where house prices are lower, the gap is even bigger. One pertinent fact, Liverpool took 5 times as many asylum seekers as the whole of the south east in June this year.
Rob, thanks very much.